Welcome to the week that was, TIOL's weekly news roundup. The news highlights of this week include the rollback of the tax proposal on EPF withdrawals and an update on the search for the industrialist Mr. Vijay Mallya, the absconder. There is some bad news too for home buyers in Uttar Pradesh.
We also bring you news on action being taken against e-commerce portals and efforts to resolve public grievances, besides snippets on tax news and notifications. But first, let's look into the rollback of the proposed tax on EPFO withdrawals and how the NPS just got better.
The Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, has given in to public demand and rolled back the controversial budget proposal to tax withdrawals from the Employees' Provident Fund unless invested in an annuity product. So now EPF contributions, interest and withdrawals shall continue to remain tax-free. The minister also withdrew the proposal to tax the contribution made by an employer to the Employees' Provident Fund beyond Rs 1.5 lakh. This means the status quo on this issue is completely restored. This rollback also initiated a ministerial relook at the dismal performance of the national pension system. In an effort to make the scheme more attractive, the finance minister has retained the budget proposal to exempt 40% of the withdrawal from NPS from tax. Thus, only 60% of the withdrawal from NPS shall be taxed and not the entire amount. Will the absconder Vijay Mallya be made to return to India?
Vijay Mallya seems to be the new dawn. Banks and government agencies in India on the lookout for this absconder are going to bring him back into the country. The Supreme Court petition by 13 banks has ordered for Mallya's presence at the next hearing before it on March 30th with his passport. A formal notice will be served on Mallya through his official Rajya Sabha email, the Indian High Commission in London, and also through the counsel representing him in other legal proceedings before various high courts. Mallya, who has been declared a willful defaulter, owes Rs 9,000 crore to banks and is also charged under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act by the Enforcement Directorate. Mallya's movable and immovable assets overseas are estimated to be in excess of his overdue loans. Banks may pursue attachment of his overseas assets beyond other traditional recovery options like attachment of property in India, financial investments and jewelry, to even explore new avenues like piercing the corporate veil to go beyond the limited liability concept. The Debt Recovery Tribunal has also ruled that Mallya cannot take the $75 million payout from the London-based multinational Diageo's severance settlement to walk away from United Spirits until the bank's recovery case is concluded. With all this fire smouldering in India, will Mallya obey the apex court order and return? Mallya, a true blue businessman, gained even as a Rajya Sabha MP.
Even while Indian brokers may be accepting bets on whether Vijay Mallya shall return to India, it may be noted how slyly he vanished. Vijay Mallya, an independent member of the Rajya Sabha from Karnataka in his second term, attended Parliament one day before he left Indian shores and Indian banks moved the Debt Recovery Tribunal against him. In his 6-year term, which expires on June 30th, Mallya's attendance was just 30% and he did not participate in a single debate since 2010. Like other MPs, Mallya has been drawing a salary and allowances of Rs 1.4 lakh per month. He owes public sector banks Rs 9,000 crore. Are e-commerce portals and online dealers following VAT registration norms? Apparently not.
The tax department in Delhi has realized the expanded possibilities for tax evasion in the online web space. The Department for Value-Added Tax has directed the local authorities to take stern action against e-commerce portals that have not filed regular turnover returns, as well as the dealers who are trading online but have not registered with the Value-Added Tax Department. Notices have been issued and penalties of Rs 50,000 have been imposed on the non-compliant portals. A case for tax evasion may also be registered. The customs baggage declaration form is history for domestic passengers.
Domestic passengers traveling on the domestic leg of international flights will no longer be required to file the customs baggage declaration form with immediate effect. The Central Board of Excise and Customs has issued a notification to this effect. The customs declaration form is outdated and a gesture long overdue from the CBEC.
The Apex Court is upset with the Department of Revenue.
Even as winds of change are sweeping through the corridors of power, some government officials continue to remain indifferent and unresponsive. The Supreme Court has recorded its deep disappointment with the revenue and the officers responsible for offering assistance to the court regarding the huge number of pending tax appeals. A special leave petition filed in the Apex Court in 2009 involved a question of law regarding the availability of revisional power under Section 263 of the Income Tax Act. However, the question had become academic as tax liability in earlier and subsequent assessment years had been decided in favor of the assessee. Even if the Apex Court were to decide the question in favor of revenue, the effective relief to the revenue would be nil. But the department still requested the court to decide the issue, which could still be live in other cases, in case the revenue does not confirm whether the issue is live in other adjudications by March 17th. The Apex Court shall assume that no such litigation is pending on this issue. The Competition Commission has joined the bandwagon for ease of doing business.
The Competition Commission of India, the antitrust regulator, has joined the rest of the government machinery in supporting startups and ease of doing business. As per the latest notification by the Corporate Affairs Ministry, prior approval of the Commission would be required for only those merger and acquisition deals where the combined Indian assets are either more than Rs 2,000 crore or the total Indian turnover is more than Rs 6,000 crore. All other combinations where the target company has less than Rs 350 crore worth assets or up to Rs 1,000 crore turnover would be exempted from the Commission's prior approval. The industry has welcomed these moves, which are expected to reduce the pendency of merger and acquisition deals awaiting clearance as well as enable the Commission to scrutinize the future deals more closely and efficiently. How truthful are the drug test reports validating the effects of pharmaceutical drugs? If these reports are inaccurate, are our drugs safe for consumption?
Dinesh Thakur, an activist and whistleblower of pharma fraud, is taking India's health ministry and drug regulators to court for failing to enforce the rules on drug safety in the $15 billion pharmaceutical industry. Dinesh Thakur had complained to the Food and Drug Administration in the USA against the fabrication of drug test reports relating to generic drugs manufactured in India and exported to the US. Scientists at Ranbaxy Laboratories had substituted cheaper, lower quality ingredients in place of better ones and fabricated the test results. For its HIV drugs, Ranbaxy was using ingredients that had failed purity tests. Ranbaxy pleaded guilty. It also prompted the FDA to increase inspections of Indian pharmaceutical plants and ban some of the products from being sold in the USA. However, most of these banned products are still being sold to unsuspecting Indians. For example, buclizine, an appetite-stimulating drug made by a Belgian firm and banned in several countries, is still marketed in India. Are the centre and Delhi state government at loggerheads over the proposed pay hike for government lawyers?
The Delhi High Court may take contempt action against the centre for failing to increase the salary of public prosecutors working for the Delhi state government. A division bench of the Delhi High Court had suo motu taken up a public interest litigation last year on the issue of lack of facilities to government lawyers and directed the Delhi government to revise their pay scales. The Delhi cabinet had approved the revision last year, which is pending approval by the central government. The High Court has questioned this disobedience and delay in complying with the court's order. The next date of hearing is on April 19. Uttar Pradesh is all set to increase stamp duty on real estate.
Home buyers in Uttar Pradesh are angry. The state government of Uttar Pradesh has approved a 2% increase in stamp duty on homes from 5% to 7% in all cities, including Noida and Greater Noida, which would mean an additional burden up to Rs 2 lakh on each home buyer. The duty hike is expected to rake in Rs 100 crore for the state government. The government is soon expected to issue the notification and start charging the hiked stamp duty from April onwards. This hike will impact home buyers, especially those in Noida whose flats in Gautam Budh Nagar were ready but delivery was delayed due to the stay order pending the demarcation of an eco-sensitive zone around the Okhla Bird Sanctuary. The 2-year-long legal battle involving delivery of 16,000 flats has ended now, but deliveries scheduled from next month will be hit with an excess as stamp duty will be charged at the prevailing rates.
Now for some international news. China's Forex reserves have declined.
China has reported a decline of $500 billion in its foreign reserves last year. Known to have the world's largest Forex reserves of more than $3.3 trillion, most of the loss went to Chinese citizens and companies. China's corporate and individual outbound foreign currency payments on account of tourism, education, and consumption expenditures surpassed its inbound payments. To add to its woes, even the US dollar appreciated against other currencies last year. China's calculation of foreign reserves, half of which is invested in US bonds, do not include assets that lack in liquidity. The economy is still financially sound. On this note, we conclude this bulletin of the week that was. Thank you for watching.
You may write us on editor@tiol.in. Have a wonderful weekend ahead.